all the profits that we make on the NIL packages go to them, or you could just check out Cavs Club. I'll leave those links in the description. But our sponsor today is Dealiyo, which is a new platform. I know both of us have talked to them. This is a platform designed where for brands and student athletes to connect, and they're really on a mission to help every student athlete access brands, deals. They're part of the smaller 95%, and kind of what we're going to talk about today is where we are, Virginia and NIL. Something that both of us have kind of dabbled in. Sort of get your thoughts. I think a lot of people to date have said Virginia is behind on NIL. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have the funds. There's a bunch of chatter like TV doesn't like NIL or whatever the case may be. It seems like it's kind of like, I don't want to say an excuse, but it's like something in the background in terms of noise that people reference all the time, like, oh, we're not playing, I don't know, the NIL game properly. But I'd love to sort of like pick your brain on and sort of talk about where you think we are, not just particularly UVA, but just like all of college and overall, like what your thoughts are on NIL. So let's start there. What are your thoughts on NIL for?
Well, first of all, for all those people who may be too old and at this point in our lives, TW too young, Dealiyo is a little play off a rap song. What's the dealio in my mind? I don't know if that's true or false, what's the dealio? Either way, so it's a pretty cool name, and it's poignant in terms of what they're trying to do in the space. As far as NIL, it was kind of only a matter of time before student athletes, specifically the ones who are revenue producing, got paid money. And Ed O'Bannon had the famous, I guess, lawsuit, which was years ago now, came to fruition. He won. It's just been a massive avalanche. I said avalanche. I meant to say avalanche. It's been a massive avalanche of things, and now you see. I think the Virginia legislators or whatever lawmakers are saying schools can pay kids and these type of things. So once it happens, it happens. I think it's great, but when you have unlimited transfer ability and other things, and the COVID year and all that, I think it's been a little bit of a mess early. It was supposed to be. It's called name, image, and likeness.
Right.
But as we know, it just turned into people getting checks.
Right.
Right. You can sign my son's autograph and you get $100,000. That wasn't the idea, but it's been really unregulated. I think the interesting part now is, it seems to me, usually when the government gets involved, things get messed up. Right. Because there's lawsuits and back and forth, and I mean that's my, I'm getting old and surly and all that. That's a different story. But is it necessary? I don't know. The NCAA, in theory, is the governing body of the National Collegiate Athletic Association. It's out of their hands. So I think what I'm trying to make the point about Virginia, I think it's good that we have kind of slow rolled it, specifically with basketball, which is our passion, because you can sort of see the mistakes that everybody else made, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Like when I thought, oh, now you can pay student athletes, the thought was, oh my God, Kentucky and Duke are just going to pay millions and millions of dollars, and they're going to get every 5-star athlete there is. And some of that is true. Like that happens. But like the vast majority of people are probably not getting a ton of dollars. But if we're just going to talk basketball, it seems like a lot of people are creating these collectives. Boosters are getting in. There's these massive funds, and then they're paying 5-star athletes, upwards of 100,000 plus. If you're on the end of the bench, you can get even up to $1 million, $2 million, We've heard $3 or $4 million, which is like a crazy amount of money. But those seem to be the anomaly. Like there are these deals out there that are big, but there's only like, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 people that are getting these big deals. And you're right. On top of that, with the transfer portal and all this, like there's a game that's being played that seems really mushy and hard to kind of figure out. But it seems like where it's played out is we've got collectives and boosters that are paying, basically pay for performance, essentially, like pay, come to UVA, come to Miami, like
Right.
the life playing people. You get this check, and then your name, image, and likeness is tied to it, but ultimately it's for pay for performance, which is totally not what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But then,
And
but then
a lot of the early stories we heard too, the quarterback going to Florida was offered $12 million. He was never going to get the money.
right,
The Miami guy, he was basing his thing off of SPAC, which went belly up. They didn't get their money.
they didn't get
It's easy to say. So, but what I realized early in NIL, like let's take our coach Tony Bennett, who doesn't cheat, doesn't bend the rules, has compliance. We can't even do certain things without talking to compliance, right?
right,
And doing a podcast. But it gave the cheaters, the guys who used to quote unquote cheat, which actually cheat, they had a leg up early.
yes,
You saw Kansas State went to the Final Four, I think, right?
right,
I'm not saying the guy's a cheater, but he's a cheater. And other guys that gave them a quick leg up, which lasted 2 years until the transfer portal hit.
right,
And then that changed it all along. And I think you're talking about boosters and people that pay NIL. And Virginia people are this way. You don't want a guy for a year. You don't want to pay him a lot of money. They like seeing you be a first year, second year, third year, all that stuff.
right. Yeah, it's kind of a weird state that we're in, because I think most people agree there's all this money being made. Student athletes should get paid something.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to disagree with that. I think where it gets confusing is the thought, like, hey, just give them a check to come to a school. Then it feels very non-amateur, and it feels like everyone is cheating because of it's kind of the sort of like historical context of NCAA. Makes you think, oh, now we're cheating to get guys, and they don't really want to be here, and we're just
Right.
paying them to be here, and it doesn't feel as good. But this is kind of like things are changing, right? Like people are, you look. I mean, even back in the '90s when you played, not everybody was in love with their school. A lot of them came for playing time. A lot of them
Yeah.
came for coaches. A lot of them came because it was the only offer they got, and they kind of learned to fall in love with the school. Now that there's a dollar amount tied to it, it just seems like
Yeah.
a lot of people are a little more turned off by it.
And it's hard. You can't hate a kid. Every situation's different, etc. But if you give me $200,000 in college to go there, and the next place will give me 300, well, it's hard to hate that, But
Right.
what's going to happen is we know, going to the University of Virginia, we're doing podcasts about Virginia. 25, 30 years later, well, probably more years later. When those guys get older, like in the real world and all that stuff, like they're not going to have that kind of connection to like a place, right? Like if you went to 3 colleges and 4 high schools, like some kids do, like who's your crew? Like I just got back from Kentucky where I went to 2nd through 5th grade, and I was with all these guys, and that's our crew from that time, and they were all still close. But that's what and this is what I think Coach Bennett. The reason he's been slow to it, I think he really feels a responsibility to these guys 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. We're going to have our 30-year later reunion at Coach Jeff Jones' house, July 27th, with his guys, our guys, and a couple guys right after me. But those things, what do you do? So,
Yeah,
sorry, I got philosophical. I got off the topic, TW. My bad.
No. I mean, it's tough. Like, this is a weird place that we're in, because I think you mentioned it. The NIL plus the transfer portal, it just, everyone thinks about transferring. Back in the day, we talked to every Cavalier, and everybody thought about transferring at some point.
Everybody.
Things get tough. You you look elsewhere, and now if that elsewhere has some dollars tied to it, you can almost say, well, it's a business decision. I'm gonna jump ship, and everyone's going to promise you, the grass is greener on this side. I'm going to literally give you more money, and you're going to leave, and it's just a mess, right? Like that's where I feel like everyone is gotten everything all bunched together, and it feels like, hey, we're paying guys to come here, and they don't even want to be here, and they're leaving places they shouldn't, and all, um,
Yeah, the one thing I wish they would regulate, and I don't know how you do it at this point, but when you hear about high school and college kids having agents,
yeah,
that to me is like Dante's Inferno, like bottom rung. Nothing against the agent. I'm sure there's good ones, and they probably offer financial literacy and lawyers and all that. But it's just the wrong way because you're absolutely. And I think one of our transfers in at least was announced by an agent or had an agent. And maybe it is what it is. I don't like that part at all.
yeah, yeah. It's tough. It seems like what UVA is doing. We've got a collective. Donors have put a
Hmm.
bunch of money into it. I mean, obviously, our guy Lowe with Cavs Futures tied to it.
Shout out low.
Yeah, they do an incredible job putting things together, being above the board, making sure our all compliance and everything is met, and then all the student athletes have like um, nonprofit things they're tied to, and they actually get paid for incredible work, and it all makes sense, and everyone gets paid a certain tier. And guys
Yeah.
are, guys are still getting 200, 250 grand. They may not be getting the $1 million deals, but we're also not getting, the $1 million athletes. Not to, you know, shed any light on anything, but it's like we're not getting the Bronny James
Right.
of the world who are going to garner a million. I think if they were here, they would get that money. I think they would ultimately get it. They would just be above the board. And I think what happens is those guys that are like tweeners that may LifeLock getting 800,000 out of nowhere. Those deals probably. Actually, we know those deals aren't happening at UVA, and that feels like it's hurting us. But I actually don't think it is. What are your
I
thoughts?
don't. I don't. I don't think. I think what hurts you is when you don't play well on the basketball court. Like that, I care about the games. That's
Right.
that's great. You can buy a car. You can fly your parents to the game. That's awesome. Or you can just have money in your pocket. You can go to dinner, take your girlfriend out, whatever the story is. That's fine. I had a point to make, and I completely lost it. TW.
No.
But
Do you
I
think
don't. I don't. I don't. I really outside unless a kid has an agent. I still think kids are romantic enough. They go to a place they like it. So
Right.
if I go to the University of Virginia and they offer me 200 grand, I go to Arkansas State, which is my favorite visit, and they offer me 500 grand. I'm like, I don't want to be at Arkansas State. And I wasn't rich. Well, I was fine growing up. I was okay. Like so. Now I understand if you need it, and I just think there's too many people. Parents could pressure, agents could pressure, friends could pressure, and it becomes a dollar thing. But I don't think that matters. I think what matters is on the basketball court and winning.
So do you think NIL has negatively impacted UVA's recruiting, or have we just kind of swung and missed recently?
I don't think
You know,
so. I think so. Let's talk about our misses. T.J. Power, he transferred into Virginia this year,
right.
right? So that was a miss. He's coming. Who do we miss because of NIL? I don't know. Maybe the kid that went to Alabama. I forgot his name already because we forget their names as soon as they go. The kid
Right.
Perry that went to UCLA. He's walking on
London
effectively.
Johnson. What about London Johnson? He went to the G League, so hard to say
Yeah.
we lost out on him. But
No, we didn't. Who's the biggest loss? And then and I'm all over the stuff with HGN now. We might miss on a Caden. Is it Lewis? The DC left-handed point guard just got offered by UNC, I believe. And now that might I have no idea. His mom, by the way, shout out DJ Farrah Flossett. I don't know if you know about this. His mom's a DJ, and she's all like
oh
touring all over
wow,
the Southeast. Yeah, big Instagram following because I'm following her now. But I love the kid, but that might be a kid that we miss out on. But it's hard to. I know people don't like Carolina, but if a kid gets offered to go to the University of North Carolina and they choose that, the Duke thing, I get it. I don't get it. I hate it, but it is what it is. I don't think NIL has cost us a player. No.
it's if you look on Twitter, if you look, sentiment is NIL is the reason why we're not getting
Hmm.
these 5-star. It's the reason why we're not signing these 5 stars. But they haven't been really coming here to begin with. I mean, Kyle Guy is the one McDonald's All-American we got. You could say maybe Sylvan Landisberg, but that was kind of before. Um, but Kyle
Really
is,
good.
Kyle Guy is. I mean, I'm just talking under Tony Bennett. Kyle Guy
Yep.
being the only McDonald's All-American. We haven't really landed those 5-star type of athletes. It's really been under the radar 3, 4-star guys that kind of play above. You're talking Joe Harris, Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah.
Justin Anderson was highly rated. He was probably one of the higher ones, but he came because Gary Williams
Left,
retired.
right?
Yeah, Gary Williams retired. He reopened. He looked.
Gary Williams was still the coach when Justin was graduating? I didn't realize that.
It's wild.
That is wild.
Anthony Gill transferred in. You think
Yeah.
about the really Devin Hall obviously was a big recruit, but we got London Parantes as well.
Mhm.
But I mean, those are big recruits, but none of them were top 25 All American, can't miss, one and done type of guys. Even like DeAndre Hunter, as great as he was under the radar, and we got him, and he developed into an incredible top 5 pick, and so.
Yeah, I think Tony and staff, like one thing that they've done is they've identified so many under the radar guys. When we jump first and offer the kid like a Caden Lewis out of DC, and then I think other people pay attention when Tony offers.
Right.
TJ Power was that and now, do I know it really happens or not? I don't, but I think it happens. So
I mean,
like Coach O, Jason, and Johnny Carpenter, those guys, they're doing the hard work. Isaiah at this point,
right.
they're doing the real evaluating, and then Hubert or somebody can just come in, or Shire, that complete joke of a coach. They just come in and say, "Oh, why does Tony Bennett like him?" And then
Reed Shepard. I mean, Reed Shepard is
Yep.
one, right? He was down to UVA, but his dream school was Kentucky. So, Dad went
that
there.
makes sense.
Yeah, it just
His
made
mom
sense.
and dad went there. He lives there. I just got back from Kentucky. It's a basketball, when I was there, I said 2nd or 5th grade. If Kentucky offered me as a kid and I still lived there, dude, are you kidding me? Of course you're going there. That's easy.
Yeah, so it's tough, right? Like it seems like the transfer portal as a combination of transfer portal and NIL maybe hurt UVA a little bit, but for the most part, it doesn't seem like the NIL has been a massive issue, unless we're not seeing. Maybe we're not seeing it, like TB and the staff are out there, and once they hear high NIL, they kind of castigate or put a guy to the side. Maybe that's the case, but it doesn't feel like the high NIL playing big wheeling guys are
I mean,
anyways.
if we're really honest, and it's a cop out, but what really hurt us was winning the national championship, because Ty Jerome Jr., Kyle Guy Jr., DeAndre Hunter, effectively a sophomore, they all left. And then it's hard to recruit guys to the point guard position for Ty, shooting guard Kyle, whatever, for DeAndre. And then Kihei started most of the season. He started the national championship game. Point guards know they're not going to come in and beat him out after he's the national champion. That hurt us, but would any of us change it? Of course not.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. The national championship what happened after that in terms of recruiting is another thing. People say, "Oh, we lost something during with COVID and all that." But you look back, and Sam Hauser was the #1 transfer. We got him. Trey Murphy was a top 5 transfer at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously an incredible NBA player now. We got him. Jaden Gardner was also a huge transfer, and we got him. So it doesn't seem like recruiting is really our NIL and recruiting have been a huge issue for us. But if you look at our message board, there seems to be a lot of gripe around we're not getting the players we want or need, or NIL is an issue, but it doesn't seem to be the case. But
yeah, it's hard to know. I'm thinking, what player went somewhere that I really wanted? I don't know. I follow it, man. I know all these guys. The Trent Perry thing, I was excited about him, sure, but not really. I really wanted Christian Bliss.
Yeah.
and he came. I
He's
don't
here.
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe it's because we met him at our podcast locally in Charlottesville. Maybe I just have an affinity. I really wanted Elijah Gertrude. We got it. We had no chance to get Elijah.
Right.
Like if you're from afar, right? The profile, Jersey City, supposedly wanted to stay at home, wants to run, wants to do this stuff. He had no chance, and we got Elijah. You know, he's obviously been injured once or twice, and we'll see what happens. But you know, he's a huge kid.
Yeah, that was a big time.
Big
Doesn't
time.
fit the mold type of player. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. And the other things that people have been asking are like, how do I support student athletes?
Yeah.
I want to help with this. How do I do it? I don't want to just willy-nilly pay players and do these things. And like Dealiyo, here, let me put up my screen for the about Dealiyo so people understand
Yeah.
what exactly what exactly is Dealiyo. Here we go.
Yeah, and by the way, if anybody is seriously interested, not just intellectually curious, but wants that we could absolutely do a call and explain. But TW would do it now, I guess.
Yeah, like this, Dealiyo is on a mission to help every student athlete access brand opportunities with a secure legal and financial support platform. So, you know, I used it, I tried it. Basically, as a brand, you can set up and then you can reach out to athletes. It'll send them a contract, and then they can quickly edit and decide what are the things that they want or don't want. For example, from like, hey, it's a locker room access. I want them to make a post about our latest gear. You can put all the business terms in there, what they're getting for the post, how long the post is up, what content it is, how long we can use it, and then they receive it all through an email and a platform and a web plugin, and it works. It's pretty cool. Like I have to say, this is going to be a tool that I think a lot of brands and athletes are going to enjoy because you don't have to spend a bunch of time making up a contract, negotiating all these things back and forth, or just doing the thing through email, and you're not sure who you said for what to how much and all that stuff. It'll all be tracked in the system. So this is pretty cool. So for people that are thinking, oh, how in the world can I have a business, I have a thing I've been trying to do. I'd love to help a UVA athlete. I'd love to help. It doesn't have to be a UVA athlete, any student athlete. How would I do it? You could just go on here and you could quickly create a contract that makes total sense. And for the student athlete, it's 100% free of charge. So,
Yep.
we're really happy to have them as a sponsor. This is a cool platform that we're going to watch, I think, grow and expand, especially in this NIL space. And they'll be off to the races. I mean, you can, if you're a student athlete, you can accept, you can review, and if you're a brand, you can send and engage with student athletes right through that platform, and like it saves you a bunch of time and effort when you're dealing with like contracts. So I'm a fan.
I've had more than one person talk to me about they want to do NIL, but to this point, is there like, how do I do it? Is it going to really go to where I want it to go? Is it, do I just go to this place, whatever? And so a place like this, you can like access straight up. You say Elijah Gertrude, like obviously I'm going to use that name, Reese Beekman, whatever. I want to go to them, and you sort of have that interaction with them on the site.
I was going to get into specifics. Like we've done deals personally through LRA, and I can disclose some. We've done like T-shirt deals where we give 100. I mean, everyone's not going to be like this, but we gave 100% of all the profits to the student athlete, and when we launch a shirt and they promote it, they get all the profit from it, and it ranges. Maybe we can sell 100 shirts, and we can make $10-15 a shirt. So it's not a lot of money, but you're talking $1,000-$1,500. That's pretty good. Yeah, it's not a lot. It's like one or two posts. You have to engage a little bit with us, and we'll do all the marketing for it. obviously not every company is going to do that and give 100% of the profits to the student athlete, but we do that, and that's kind of how it works. We've also had boosters reach out and say, "Hey, I'd love to do something. I'd love to pay an athlete. I'd love to support them in their endeavor if it helps them have a better sort of experience at UVA. How do I do it?" You've done that, right? Like, how do
I just did one this week through Cavs Future. Shout out Lowe hooking me up with Miss Kelly.
Yeah, explain that process. So what? If somebody reaches out to you and says, "Hey, Fresh, you know these guys. How do I? I'd love to. I don't have a business. I'd love to like figure out a way in which I could pay for a post for my company. How?
Well, I thought so initially. Even for me, what I was didn't understand about Cavs Future. I know they're doing it correctly. They want swimming to get money, track and field. They want So I kind of assumed if you said, here's X amount of dollars, $1,000 I want to give to Blake Buchanan. I didn't know that they were doing it directly, but they do. Yes. Because the deal, this one I just did this week, it's 100%. And they said, and Kelly said to me on the phone, we don't take any of the money. 100% of the proceeds go to him, et cetera, et cetera. So it's pretty easy. It's not always easy to access those people. So me and TW, whoever else, we can be a conduit. We don't get any money for it. Trust me, sadly, but it's true. And we had talked to Lowe and that. So, but we can do that, and you can direct it wherever you want it to go, man. $100, $50, $10, $1 million. It doesn't matter. And the Cavs, in their defense, Cavs, they're figuring it out too, man. They have to do it the Virginia way, A, and then legally A, Virginia way B, and then true to themselves type of thing. What I wanted to say before, and I'll say it now.
Uh-huh.
You're talking about how it's evolving, NIL. So, for example, the University of Virginia men's basketball team has on staff a financial literacy coach. Tom Henske, our very own Spencer Henske's dad, who's done this his entire career. He's retired. He's not looking to get these guys as clients. He talked about Ryan Dunn. He said, if you can tell Mr. Dunn, his dad, Ed, if Ryan needs any advice, I do not want him as a client. I don't want to do that, and that's cool. He goes down about once a month, I think, not paid, a non-paid, but that's Virginia. And that's why if this thing becomes a long-term thing, it's really going to work. And Tom he'll end up doing it throughout the whole athletic department, in my opinion. I'm not sorry, Tom. I'm not talking for you.
I'll give another other one through LRA that we just launched. If you're looking to same kind of deal, if you're like, hey, how do I do this? I want to support a student athlete, and I have a small budget through my company or whatever it may be. You can reach out to us, sign up through our site, and I think there are tiers, $500, $1,000, $1,500, and we'll do the legwork. If you're like, hey, I'd like to sponsor a post, and I'd like to get someone on a podcast, for example, Elijah. If they say, hey, I want to get Elijah on a podcast, I'd love to sponsor that actual podcast for myself. You can do that. You can do that on our site, and then we'll also put it all over a forum. If you're a supporter of student athletes, we want to put you in the spotlight, put your company in the spotlight. So not only that, there's money you put into it, and then you can direct it essentially to a person that you see fit, and you can work with us to get that done, and we'll give you all the receipts and the proof for that. And if you need something a little more detailed than that, obviously use Dealiyo and get something done. But check this out. I'll put all the links in the description below. But these are a couple of ways that you can support the student athletes at UVA. It doesn't have to be basketball. We know basketball really well, but we're working with swim team and a number of different athletes. Olympics is right around the corner, so look out for some ads and stuff that are coming through. So,
and to give people ideas, sometimes people are shy about this. But for example, I got to know somebody off of Locker Room Access, I'm not going to say who it is. I don't know if he probably wouldn't care. Doesn't matter. Not a University of Virginia graduate. For some reason, loves the University of Virginia and loves basketball. And he's done finance. He's done stocks and bonds his whole life, whatever, finance. And he wants to do, and he wants to give a kid an internship and pay him in kind for his internship. But it's not so much the money. He just wants to impart what he's learned over, the last 30 or 40, 30 years probably in his time, and impart that knowledge, And I talked to the kid's dad, and he's like, man, I wish somebody would have done that for me when I was a kid, when I was in college.
Yeah.
And so anybody has skills or, your vocation, like, what's the word, vocation, whatever, your career, I think that's the coolest way. I know it's hard to match up schedules, but if you can do a 2-day, I think you call it an externship back in the day. I came to New York between my junior and my third and fourth year, spent 3 days on the trading desk at, it was Smith Barney back then. And I went to the AMX floor, and then I got a job out of college doing that. So these are, and like, especially in my job now, you can't get the real job unless you do a full-time internship during a summer.
Right.
Basketball players can't do that.
You can't do it.
Right? No, you can't do it. They just started where I work now, and they're going to go through August, I guess. But those things are really, I think it's really cool. And if you can pay them. If you can, whatever, get a computer.
Yeah, I've done it myself. When I was working at Amazon and Twitch, I hired a bunch of UVA athletes and UVA connected people that reached out. I'll do it every time. So, if there's something like that you can contribute, reach out. I mean, we're happy to connect the dots. I know it's not easy, as you said, with schedules and things like that, and what you need versus what they may be willing to provide. But it doesn't hurt to throw your name out there.
Right.
Every little bit helps. Like, this is a real network and a real community that we're building here. And that in terms of the current team and their NIL, where do you think we're at? Are we in a good spot now?
What I heard recently, we're in a very good spot. If a good spot means money, let's get that out of the way, right? How much money they get?
That's what I mean.
What I was kind of very surprised at what I heard. And by the way, I don't talk, like, I will never ask Jason Williford or Orlando or Johnny Carpenter or Tony Bennett what the numbers are. But I hear from very reliable sources, and mostly more so the people that are actually paying it.
Yes.
And I get that. If it finds me, I don't ask for it. I don't care really. But it's kind of interesting. But I think we're at a very respectable level. You also don't want to be the $2 million or whatever, like every kid's calling. You want to be that sweet spot. I don't know what the number is. 200 grand, 300. What's the number? TW 500 grand. I don't know.
I mean,
it's all a lot to me.
It's a lot. I mean, I think it really depends. If you're saying I want to get essentially an all-star roster, that is going to be expensive. If you're just going for market, if you're going for market rate, like a bunch of 4 or 5 star.
No, the two-time defending national champions, UConn, they didn't have an all-star sort of roster. I don't think, right? Do you think those guys all got paid tons of money to go there? No, they probably get paid tons now because they won.
Yeah, they do now. I mean, I think they had a pretty good mix, right? I think Stephen Castle got it.
I think, but I think if you, for example, if we could have paid NIL when Ty, and let's just use it, Ty, Kyle, DeAndre, like that's right. Those are the names.
Yeah.
If NIL existed when we won a national championship, those 3 would have gotten $1 million the next day.
Yeah.
Right? The University of Virginia will pay for winning. No, I mean, they come to my house, do this, whatever, and boom. That'd be
it would have been insane.
Yeah, it would have been insane. So that's what I think. That's the real kicker if you can build a team and win whatever level that is. Like if Virginia goes to the Final Four on the back of, Christian Bliss, whoever on the, and those guys, they'll get paid.
They will. I think ultimately what happens is you get paid for performance at the end of the day, right? Because people love winners, right? And when you're winning, you start making, like a perfect example, DJ Burns you know, who obviously UVA fans are probably feeling some type of way about him after the ACC tournament. But he went on an incredible run,
Yeah.
and he was doing deals left and right, right? And you can say, oh, it's not about NIL isn't about pay for performance, but when you win, when you're a winner, people want you, right? Like you're gonna get some sort of
Especially
reward for that.
especially the alumni who graduated in 1972.
Right.
They don't want to meet like they've seen kids and whatever. They're not enamored with the kids like if a 27-year-old grad, you know, a guy who's out for 4 or 5 years. Oh, it's so cool to meet the team. They just want to win, and when they win, they don't care who's on the team. When they win, that's what matters, right? We live and die by it.
No, it's great.
Like the whole, you know, we talk about like locker room access and NIL and these things. You know, for me, it's cool to see the kids and know them, but like I have kids that are their age. It's fine. It's all good. But what's cool about what we've done and created is like it gives us opportunities. I met, you know, I spent the weekend at the Carolina game with somebody from locker room access, and we talk and hang out, go to practice. But I'd like to be with our community. Mr. Cotton, John Cotton, the Good Feet store. I've gotten to be friends with him essentially because of this.
Yeah.
You know, and a bunch of old timer guys from the '70s that played at Virginia. And, you know, we had Gus on. Anyhow, I'm going.
No, and I think for businesses themselves, this is not like if you do it right. This is not sunken cost. This is not a donation. If you're a business in Charlottesville and you're thinking, hey, I need some promotion, if you do it right, it can really help your business, right? Like if you do it right, people are going to hear about your business and understand that you're tied to it. And we know our friend Kev at Rhines and Rogers, they talk about it all the time. Like they love UVA, obviously, and they're fans and all of that. But for them to be able to give back, and then they constantly have business coming back that are UVA fans, and they know and they hear about the brand, and they come in and they do their shopping there because they know they're good people. And I think that goes a long way. You know, we're talking about a small city in Charlottesville, where you know not everybody knows everyone's name, but it's kind of one of those things where you put your business and your name in the right spot, and you're doing somebody else's solid. You know what? Other people follow suit. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm happy to see that this stuff actually matters, and businesses are. It's not just a write-off, and you're just donating profits away. This is like, hey, I'm going to invest. I'm going to get some money back in advertising and marketing, and it returns, which is amazing. So,
and people like to be associated. Like, you know, we have a pretty big community on locker room access, and their name's foremost, and they sponsor it. And then people go to Charlottesville. They feel like buying earrings or whatever people buy. You know, where else? That's the only place I would go to.
Yeah, restaurants. I mean, you know, restaurants and other things. Yeah, you hear us out. You know, we've had a bunch of sponsors over the years now, but this is really cool. This is a neat way to do it.
Well, we need to call Chipotle, stock symbol CMG, up $100 today, which is $3,000 at this point. It was $800 in 2020. We need to call them because our basketball team supposedly freaks that place like nobody's business. So they need to get on board. Right? Like,
as much as they're eating there, we should.
I mean, at least they could eat. The least they could do is give it to them for free.
Yeah, that'd be amazing, and then they'll promote it. I mean, maybe that's worth reaching out. I'm sure somebody's reached out though. There's no way somebody hasn't.
I don't think. I bet you're on there. I think we should do it. We should do it.
Let's do it.
I'll do it. Remind me tomorrow. I'll find them. I'll go. I'm on Bloomberg and.
So, anyways, that's a little impromptu NIL talk brought to you by our friends over at Dealiyo. So, if you're looking to make deals, NIL or otherwise, check them out. It's a cool marketplace. You can get your contracts and everything settled, or you can reach out to Fresh and I. Happy to help you. All of that info will be in the description below. You can find us on Locker Room Access anytime.
Sure.
So appreciate you listening. Anything else to add, Fresh? Are we good?
I'm very close, TW, just to publishing my cell phone number, because when you do DMs on Twitter, on Locker Room, I can't do it. I'm just gonna say it's 8675309. That's my phone number. I'm kidding, but yeah, man, I don't know. People reach out all the time. I love it. I love the personal connection. I like knowing the man or the woman behind the mask or the name on LRA and that. So that's how I'm a little bit hyper social.
And for people who are just,
but I'm shy.
If they're still tuned into this, well, God bless you for still listening this long. But Fresh played at UVA. If you don't know, if you're like the 27-year-old person, Fresh played at UVA early '90s. Was part of that Terry Holland to Jeff Jones era. That was, for my memory, the most amazing time as a UVA fan, outside of obviously the championship run. But that was like what made me a real diehard fan, with Brian Stith and John Karate and Doug and Havlicek. That team was amazing. But anyway, a little info about Dougie Fresh. If you didn't know, he's kind of a big deal.
Right. We can't expect everybody to know too though.
He's kind of a big deal. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, I appreciate your time, Fresh. We'll do this again. We talk details.
Yeah, I love it.
And we'll come on. We'll do another one, talking more. Maybe if people have questions, leave those below, and we can jump on and answer them. We would have gone live, but Fresh is we weren't sure how his audio and all that would work. So, but I'll get this up, and we'll go from there, man. Appreciate your time, Fresh.
All right, thanks, boy. No, come on, man. Always.